13th, 2011 at 9 a.m. We're in the B County Courthouse, Commissioner's Courtroom, number 110, 105 West Corpus Christi Street, Beeville, Texas, 78102. This is an official call to order. And we have a pastor, Mr. Dean Fleming. Would you give us a prayer, sir? Everybody please stand.
I might say this is my last week here in Beeville as I'm retiring and moving back to San Antonio to our home there. And I love this community, and I want to thank the leaders of this community for all of your great work and all of your care for this wonderful place. I'm going to miss Beeville. So let us pray. Most gracious Heavenly God, we thank you for the lives that we have. We thank you for this wonderful community of Beeville. We thank you so much for our dedicated leaders. We ask that you continue to guide her. We pray that you continue to protect her. And Lord, we do pray today that you will grant this court great wisdom, great love, great charity, and a touch of your grace. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. If you'll help us pray, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the sacred flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
We have quite a few visitors here today. We normally recognize visitors, but I think most of y'all are here to actually speak. Is that correct?
Yes.
If anyone would like to be recognized before we get to the public comment, we'll be happy to recognize you. If not, we'll move to the next item, which is Commissioner's Court opening remarks. There.
All right. Not a whole lot going on in my precinct the last couple of weeks. We did some cleanup. There was some people that they go out and they do jobs, construction sites and whatnot, and they dump all their lumber and material on the side of the road. Roger Guerrero and I, we went out and we did a bunch of cleanups a couple of weeks ago. Ray Gonzalez, I called him several times on some issues with roads and whatnot, and he took care of those right away. Other than that, it's been pretty quiet.
Okay. Sure. I attended a school board meeting in Pawnee last week. Orsted, the wind and solar people, gave a presentation. It was very good. There'll be 66 turbines up in the Pawnee area. I'd like to recommend to the court that they take a look at their cybersecurity training. We still have 2 commissioners that haven't had it, and it's required to be done, I think, by the end of business today. On that note, I'll pass to my colleague to the left.
It was a real busy week, last 2 weeks. Had several BDA meetings, meeting with the sheriff on a salary, and also another meeting with the issues at the jail. I met with both contractors that are building on the elections administration office upgrade. Meeting with the judge, and phone call with Terry Whitman. That's our ECM guy. So lots of meetings.
Well, yeah, I've had a very busy 2 weeks with the impending rain. I do want to give a shout out to our city manager, our city staff, the local Beeville city staff. They were nice enough to loan us a 6-inch pump for Tohey Circle. That is usually a real serious issue over there. I want to also thank Mr. Fred Starks for allowing us to pump the water off of that area onto his property and across Mr. Livers. I still call him Judge Livers' property. We ran the hoses across there. And I do want to comment on Ray's crew. Ray's crew came out, waded in the water, set out the hoses, ran the pumps for like 24 hours a day. Did a lot of issues trying to clean up the water and move it around out. Met with several individuals out in that area, so took care of them. And we are looking at some different items that we're going to be bringing up in the future to help with that system, that water drainage out there. Had an insurance meeting this week, some with our made some recommendations that we'll be bringing before the court. Had some Tynan, in downtown Tynan, had some drainage issues over there with TxDOT, got with TxDOT on that one, and a little bit on 202 for some drainage issues. Went to a ceremony there in Skidmore, right in front of the school district. There was a renaming of North 10th Street, which runs right in front of the Skidmore Tynan ISC building along the baseball fields and down towards the tennis courts. Had a young lady, Ms. Salas, senior, who graduated this year, has been working diligently to rename that street to Lady Cat Lane. Went through all the necessary steps to get all their authorization to do that. We had that ceremony there. It was very, very nice. It's now called North Lady Cat Lane. That matches Bobcat Lane, which is in the back towards the elementary school. Have a VAP meeting today, and also met with Commissioner Frias with the jail issues, with a meeting with that group. Last but not least, after 2 years of working with school district, Skidmore Tynan, and Texas Highway Department, I'll give you a real quick version. July 12th to the 15th, they are going to start putting in what's called the Skidmore Hawk system. It is a school crossing system for the students to cross. Right now, we have one that crosses right at those of you that know Skidmore, they cross at the Dairy Queen. And there's usually a person out there. They have a little flashing system. I've witnessed it. Several people have witnessed. Nobody really pays attention to that. This new Hawk system is an actual sidewalk crossing. It has red lights. It has a blinking. You activate it, same as you would in town. The only difference is when there's nobody around, that thing is dark. There's nothing there. It's just black. When you activate it, it starts flashing yellow, then flashes red. There will be a center divider to help out. It will be on a timing system. We'll monitor all the TxDOT stuff to make sure that the length is where it needs to be. Like I said, it's been 2 years trying to get this in. Of course, hurricanes and other issues going on has delayed it. But again, it's a 33-day project. They have an outside contractor that's going to come in, do all of that, and close down one part of the parking in the junior high, but they're going to open up another section. Again, this is one of the issues that we were brought up well over 2 years ago, but it's been in the works for 2 years. Last but not least, again, we just several calls and running around. Mr. Gonzalez has been instrumental in trying to clear the ditches and clean the waters. And it's just been a real busy week and a half. That's it. Thank you.
Committee.
Yes, sir.
If you may, a lot of us don't realize, Commissioner Lenny or DeWitt or myself, how many, Commissioner Haggard's inherited all the water problems in this county, and how many hours, he doesn't tell you how many hours he's been out there day and night trying to get these problems into the system. So he's just taking enough credit for it.
Yeah, because everything we have drains to Skidmore,
South.
drains south.
So we appreciate it, sir.
Yes, sir, we really do. What we have now is public comment, and let me go over some procedures that we always do. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes. Ms. Edmondson is our timekeeper. She will raise her hand and notify the court that your 3 minutes is up. You'll be allowed to finish your statement. The court rules do not allow us to interact with you. We can't ask you questions. We can't say, well, what do you mean, or anything like that. You make your statement. It's in the record, and we appreciate you being here. What I will do, we want the person, whoever's going to speak, to go to the podium, state your name for the record, state your whatever it is that you want to express to the court. If there's someone out here who's representing 3 or 4 people and the other 3 people don't want to speak, let us know, and we'll take that. And what I'll do, I have the list here, and I'll go down the list. I may not have you in the right order, and if you didn't sign up on the list, at the end, let us know, and we'll be happy to take care of it. Any questions before we start? We have Mr. Austin Brown.
Is there a microphone or anything? No? Okay. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak this morning. My name is Austin Brown. I'm a fifth generation resident of B County, and I'm here today to visit with y'all about a very, very important issue. Maricopa County, Arizona, is apparently a very, very dishonest county. And because of that, they are currently auditing their election. But the good news is B County is going to change. B County is going to be known as one of the most honest counties, hopefully, in the United States. And we are going to receive notoriety nationally because of it. What I propose, and I would like to see put on the next agenda of the county commissioners, is that B County hibernate all electronic voting equipment permanently, and that this county go back to paper ballots. Paper ballots, hand counted and reported properly, with ID for voting. No, just walk in and vote. ID for voting and precinct voting. Many of our people live in the precincts in the outer areas of the county and have to drive into Beeville. I've heard that it won't be handy for some people. Well, it's not handy the way it is now for people at Pawnee and Mineral and Papalote to drive to Beeville to vote. So we would like to go back to precinct voting. We did it for 170 years. Think about it. 170 years, and it worked fine until someone suggested that we buy electronic machines. They cannot be trusted. I have been hacked. You've been hacked. The pipelines have been hacked. The county's been hacked. It can be done. I respectfully request of the court that we go back to paper ballots in B County, and will be the center of attention, if not Texas, maybe even the United States, and we will not be counted. And once we do that, after our first election, we will invite anyone to come to this county and recount our ballots. We will not stand in the way. We will not protest a recount. It will be honest. It will be done properly. And I thank you very much. I look for this on the next agenda, and we will need a budget item to take care of this, of course. Nothing is free. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Brown. Ms. Jane Wicker?
Good morning, Commissioners Court. I know you all, and I appreciate your efforts greatly. Secondly, I am from Beeville. I was born and raised here. Buddy's fifth generation here. I'm third. My father was the county judge. He has been a county attorney. My grandfather was a doctor here and delivered half the people. So I feel like this is my community, and I'm standing up for what is right. We have seen what has happened nationally. We have had our president taken away. My bumper sticker says Biden is not my president, and because he isn't, and we don't want that to happen in Beeville. And so I should support everything that Austin said, but I would like to add a few things, thinking only about the security of this issue, because I've seen things happen in this room that should not have happened, that people were told how to vote. That was when they started with the machine. So I would say this, when you have machines, they have to bid. They're here, it opens up a whole bunch of criminal activity to try to get you to buy their machines that they fix so they can hack them. So the only way to know that will not happen, paper ballot can count. No mail-out ballots, including absentee, which is the greatest area of fraud in B County, and it has always been, absentee ballots.
Yeah.
People buy them, they harvest them, so I would say off limits, nursing homes, funeral homes, cemeteries, and prisons. We should shorten our ballots. I think it would be a good idea to separate the presidential and federal from the state and local, because it gets very confusing. Nothing that requires Bluetooth, cellular, or electricity should be allowed. Special needs to be considered only for the infirm, and you need to confirm that they're infirm. And a review of the voting registry we now have in the county. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Wicker. Mr. Rodney Sullivan.
Hello, my name is Rodney Schulmer. I appreciate the time to speak this morning. When our country was founded, George Washington was quoted as saying, "In order for our new form of government and country to succeed, those serving must be of the highest moral and ethical standards." It seems that almost daily now, more and more corruption is revealed in the federal government and some state governments. While I have to believe that most government officials are honest, it appears that the corruption is widespread. In our representative Republican form of government, the people trust in the government in the expectation that no matter what station in life they live, each individual vote is equal to the other. We've been told that our health records, banking information, a loss in confidence in this principle shakes the foundation of our system of government in our country. There are those who, for whatever reason, be it power, control, or for monetary gain, will lie, cheat, and manipulate elections. I know very little about the inner workings of computers and electronic devices. However, I have been told by very competent computer whiz that total security isn't possible. I think we have witnessed this recently with the Colonial Pipeline company hack and the JBS company hack. They had their computers hacked and ransomware installed. These are probably some of the most secure systems around. We've been told that our health records, banking information, and personal information are totally secure. They're not. Some of the most secure government sites have been accessed. So why would we trust electronic voting or electronic vote tabulation and transmission? It doesn't matter what security is developed in the future, there will always be those who will be able to gain access for nefarious purposes. While corruption in election has always existed, it has never been of the magnitude possible as with electronic voting. This is not a Republican or Democratic issue. It affects all, and the survival of our country. Those on the winning side of election need to be truly assured that they won so that they can go forward with a legitimate government. Those on the losing side need to be sure that they lost and that elections are fair so that they have the chance next time to revisit that and possibly win at the next election. We place our hope in the future in free and fair elections. While you cannot control others, how they conduct their elections, you can control how B County does theirs. I urge you to lead and not follow. In order to conduct elections in B County with the least potential for fraud, I'm here today to encourage you to return B County to hand-counted and tabulated ballots for all elections. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Schultz. Mr. Bob Rangy.
Howdy, folks. I'm Tim Rainey, local dentist, and I'm from Mercurio. And then my interest here is to copy genius, not invent mediocrity. And we've had some excellent introductions on what, where it needs to go, how we need to get there, and I'm all for it. My interest was started following the stealing of the last election. The proof is in the algorithm, and that's getting way out there into the science of following the election. So anyway, there's no doubt in my mind that this election was stolen. These are ways that can be followed, implemented, that will make our election safe and secure. And these are some of the printouts that are the information the evidence that I followed. You'll have a couple of days, I'll read it for you. Anyway, thank you for your time, and, let's see, Beeville County, lead this thing. I think it's extremely important for the future of our kids and grandkids.
Thank you, Mr. Ramey. Ms. Kathy Assumption? Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, and good morning to all of you. My name is Kathy Bedanson, and I'm up here. I just kind of want to share something. About a year ago, I was notified that my checking account somebody had gotten in, took some money out of it. Okay. I wanted to get that money back. I had to file papers with the bank. Did I get it back? Not all of it, no. So then about a year ago, I want you to know that I got a call from the bank that my credit card, that I was in Victoria, Texas, but somebody in Houston, Texas, was eating at Peter Piper Pizza on me. They got to keep all that food because I didn't file the proper papers to get that money back. But they didn't get the tin sheets that they got from me. Those I got to keep. Okay. So I want you to know, on my telephone, I'm constantly getting things popped up. Don't know who that is. Don't know what it is I want. That's happening all the time. I'm noticing now on Facebook, I'll post something, it's gone. So that's coming up. Even my television has got stuff popping up. Then I watch the news and I'm finding out that the oil has stopped. That it's been hacked. And now we have to pay a ransom for that. And I'm having to pay higher gas prices. Guess what? So did the meat packing company. They got hacked. They had to pay a ransom. Guess what? I'm paying higher meat. I am always having to react to somebody else's habit on me. I am tired of reacting. I'm at the point right now of acting. I'm going to be the forerunner. I want to be a part of this movement that's going on. I no longer want somebody to be in charge of telling me or hacking into my vote. So I want to be a part of this that starts at the ground floor. Let's get back, let's be honest. I want to be a part of that. So I am acting at this point, and I'm asking all of y'all to act with me. Let's start at the ground floor. Let's keep this on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Simpson. Very good. Mr. Robert Doherty.
Commissioners, thank you for letting me be here. Everyone here, thank you. What I'm hearing are words that have been betrayed, like trust, integrity, things. When we hear things like this, we lose faith in our system itself. It's okay now, we don't see the consequences. But as this will progress, the voting public, the foundation of our democracy, will lose faith in the system itself. When that happens, we're controlled by whoever is controlled. We can't have that. And that's why I think we need to go. I've been around Lee County voting for 40 years. And we need to go back to the system that we can trust in, believe in, and know that when I come to the courthouse here, election night, sit here in these halls, go and see these numbers in my precinct, I know that my vote is there. My vote is there and it's counted. And I know that when these numbers leave our county, these numbers are for real. Whether I believe in them, I don't believe in them, I know and have the security in my heart that the vote I cast is a vote that's going to be counted, ultimately through our national election. And that's why I think we need to go back to back to the simple way. The simplest ways cannot be manipulated and corrupted. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Doherty. Broughton, Reverend Broughton.
I am Jennifer Broughton. I didn't really come planning to speak, but we do have an issue where I live. I'm in Papaloti, and we live on Silver Creek Road, and we've got an issue with that creek. We've been there for 21 years. That creek flooded with this last rain. It was up to 4 feet. And because the wind farm people have put a crossing down there, the only explanation I can see, the water has gone down slowly, about a foot a day. So people were flooded into our community all week. And we had, I counted one day, 16 vehicles on the other side. People have to get a vehicle out on the other side if it's going to flood. We have been asking, please have a concrete box crossing down there for us because we can't go anywhere when we're flooded in. And we have been asking, and, you know, we've just been promised something's happening, and nothing ever does. I'm just asking for you to address this situation down there on our creek. The creek bed itself, it would benefit greatly if it were cleaned out. It has never been cleaned, never touched in the 21 years we've been there. But in this day and time, we should not have to be dealing with that every time we have a big rain. The water's going down more slowly. The water came up very quickly. We had 1.7 inches on my road, and I live at the very end. But I know they had a bigger rain over around Tynan. We drained that whole floodplain. And it's an issue for us. I have spoken now to the Corps of Engineers. They have a case, but all of that stuff runs slowly. You realize that. But in any way, I'm saying, can we please get a crossing for us so that we can get out when it floods? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Broughton. Allison Lemos.
I didn't plan to say anything, but I'm with them about the bridge. I'll say something just real quick, I promise. I won't take much of your time. I crossed the bridge. Obviously, this is mine. I crossed the bridge with him on my back. 3 little ones in the back. I carry one. One walks behind me, one walks in front of me. When you got 6 feet of water, 5 feet of water underneath you, flowing fast, my 3-year-old or 6-year-old dropped her Barbie, and I watched that Barbie go and disappear. So it's a safety thing for our kids out there, for our elderly. We have lots of elderly out there, and it's important. I've lived out there my younger years with my parents, and for about 15 years, and over that time, I crossed that bridge when it was wooden planks to when it's the metal bridge we have now, and it's scary. It's scary when you got the water in you, and it's scary when you don't. So that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, Ms. Lemos.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, ma'am. Mr. Larry Grant.
I'm new to B County, and I appreciate y'all's time for listening. I lived in Houston for 60 years of my life, and I was fortunate enough last January to move here, where I plan to have my golden pond. Houston changed drastically over those years. When I was young, it was a thriving city. Things were taken care of. It was run by people who actually spent the money where it needed to be spent. But Houston's gotten to the point where I needed to get out of there. And I was down here when I was working as a landman for a couple of years and grew to love Beeville and B County. And I came down here because I wanted a better place to finish off my days. It's very important to me that my vote is counted, that I know that it's counted. I agree with a lot of things people have already said that's been up here. Been in the computer business for 40-something years, and trust me, nothing is safe. Nothing is not hackable. Everything can be hacked. You know, a new secure system comes out, the hackers are already trying to hack it. I'm all for voter ID, hand ballots, and hand counting, and I'm willing to help count the votes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Do we have a Bob Rangy here? Yes, sir. Well, we have we have Tim and Bob. Come on up, sir.
R-A-N-G, Rangy?
Yes, sir.
Bob? Howdy, relative.
We have a Rangy and a Rangy, so that's close enough for government work.
Now, my, father's dad died when my dad was one year old. So we kind of separated, and I guess the clan moved over to DeWitt County or somewhere. So I really don't know the Rangis in Beeville, but I've got an affinity for them, and I've recently been contacted by a fellow by the name of Hinton. His mother is a Rangi from Beeville. She's celebrating her 102nd birthday this year. Anyway, that's that story. But I agree with the comments that have been made before. Can't add anything, improve anything to the comments that I've already heard. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Didn't intend to speak, but with the opportunity, I would say that obviously you have many demands on your budgets here. I've heard the demands from the flooding of the creek and so forth, but I think this voting issue is so important that it's imperative that there's got to be budget allocated to getting the paper ballot system up and running and working so that we can feel that the system has integrity and we know that our vote is counted and who we voted for is the person that gets the vote. So basically all I got to say is you've got to set aside the budget to get the job done. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rainey. Pam Parker.
I didn't come planning to speak either, but I wanted to support Jennifer and some of my other neighbors. I live on Silver Creek, and that's my daughter with my grandchildren. When it's time to cross, it's scary, but I just want to speak on behalf of the people that have elderly. We have first responders that are back there, and the small children, and I've been there coming up on 20 years, not quite 17 or so. And I was in my late 30s when I moved out there, and it wasn't, as a big a deal as it is now that I'm in my 50s. So I'm so appreciative to the Broughtons because they put that walking bridge in initially. As a group, a lot of us refurbished it and made it safer. I've been there when that bridge was covered in water, and we couldn't get out. And I would hate to think if that happens, especially with the slow drainage that's taking place this last time, if that bridge were that high, the water was that high and covered, if we had an emergency, we'd be in some kind of trouble out there. So I'm just here to say, please, if we understand that it takes money, but surely there could be just something that could raise that bottom floor a little bit, just to maybe make it where we don't have to walk as often or something. So
I don't know, I'm just here asking for you to consider it and see if there's just something that could be done to help us back there.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Mr. Larry Wood?
Morning, everybody. About the voting, I agree, we need to go back to paper ballots, and, so people of this county, can feel comfortable that the votes are right and they count. I mean, nobody likes to go out and do something and then be scammed. And we see it on the internet all the time. You go online and look up something, all of a sudden you're out of it and you're doing other things, and all of a sudden you get all these pop-ups, they're tracking you. And we don't have to go any further than the last election with Trump, when he was shut out of the social networks. But we had foreign leaders of communist countries that slaughtered their people. They were able to carry on with their websites and everything. And that happens with our elections, I'm sure of it. You know, they did the mail-in ballots thing this time around because of COVID. You know, people were scared they were going to go out and they were going to catch the virus. But what do we tell our young men and women that go off to war to fight and die for our country so we have the right to vote? You know, if you're too scared to go out and vote because you might catch some little disease, stay home, don't vote. Because men and women die for that right that we have. And if we're going to go out and do it, and if they're going to die for us to have that right, then our vote ought to count. And we ought to make sure that nobody's manipulating it. And we've seen it, everybody's seen it, on the news. And just look at your news. It ain't nothing but a propaganda, worse than any communist country they ever had in the history of this world. And it's sickening. So we got to get back to what really counts. And the only way that we're going to know that our vote counts is our paper ballots where we come in and we vote. And I'm here to support that, and I would hope that we can do that. And I think computers are a great thing, but I think they're manipulated by the people that are in charge of all the programs that are on it. And you don't have to look any further than Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, Google, or any of them. Look at what they've done. They silence us if we have a conservative view. And if you're a radical and you want to kill all of us, well, you can just go on there and say whatever you want to say, whenever you want to say it. And there's no shutting them down. And if you're a God-fearing Christian and you're a conservative and you love this country, then you believe everybody is equal. There's one God. He created us all. And we are black, we're white, we're brown, we're high yellow, we're red. You know what? If we were all vanilla, it'd be pretty damn boring. And God knew what he was doing. And I believe every man and woman and child have equal rights to go out and succeed in our in their lifetimes in our country. And that's what made us the greatest country in the world. But look how rapidly we've declined. All the division between us. Now, I'm sorry. I mean, I know there's probably some racism here and there, but I don't live in that world. And I don't think most of us here do. I don't hate black people. I don't hate brown people. I don't hate white people. I don't hate high yellow people. We're all God's children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Okay. Martin Silva?
I have no comment.
No comment. Kent Ramon? No comment. Mickey Neal? You always have something to say, sir.
Only if you want to buy four.
Looking on the wall up here, it looks like, I think it's the Declaration of Independence. And every time I look at that thing, I'm a seventh generation Texan. My people fought in the Texas Republic for independence, fought on the losing side, unfortunately, of the Civil War. My grandfather fought in World War I. My dad fought in World War II. My uncle fought in Korea. And I had the privilege of serving from 1968 to 1976. That didn't turn out so well either. And I wondered what we would have if we didn't have this hard copy.
I'm wondering what we'd have 250 years later if that wasn't on the wall. And we could look at it, we could look at the signature of those men that signed it, that gave not only their lives, but their livelihoods at the peril of their families. And all those people in my families and some of yours that fought, and some died, that's the reason. And I've been in this room, and I've signed a paper ballot in this room. And every time I signed that paper ballot, and I came in and I marked it with that big chief or number 2 pencil, I knew that it was there. And last year, I drive through the Coliseum and push something on a tablet. And that's what these men fought for, and that's what I fought for, and that's what some of you fought for. They just stole 26 or 28 million identities, probably one of mine. I'm glad they didn't put that on the iPhone, because if electricity goes out, we wouldn't have it. The most sacred thing in a democratic republic is the right, the legal, God-given right to vote. That's why you gentlemen are sitting here. And if you think that you're going to trust it to that tablet's going to go dead. Don't plug that thing in for about a week and you'll find out exactly what you're going to have. So I'm asking you to go back to a hard copy. And I'm asking you to go back to a hard line. And I'm asking you to go back to a paper ballot. So we can look up my Christian name, Leonard Earl Neal. How did Leonard Earl Neal vote in that election? This is how he voted, and this was the identity. This was his idea, and this is what he did. And we can do that in Bee County. I don't care what they do in the other counties. I don't care what they do anywhere else. I'm a longtime resident of Bee County. My brother was born here. My grandma died here. It's Bee County. We can do something right here.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. Yeah. Mr. James Taylor.
Hi, I'm James Taylor. My wife and I moved here almost 16 years ago. We have a dance studio in town. I agree just about everything that's been said here. I have very little to add to it. But I will say, concerning paper ballots, when they came up with tablets and computers, somebody tried to fix something that wasn't broken. I mean, now it is broken. And a trip backwards is the best way to go. This type of change that needs to happen in our country is only going to happen from the ground up, from one community at a time. And I think, as it was already stated, I'll say it in other words, we shouldn't wait to get on the bandwagon. We should be the bandwagon.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Mr. James Hunt.
My name is James Hunt, and I thank the commissioners for letting us speak here today. I'm going to take a little bit different approach. I know that changing back to the paper ballots, which I firmly agree with, I can remember, people talked about bank accounts and stuff, I can remember, and a lot of you can too, is when I went to the store with my mother, we walked in there and she got whatever she was getting. And I happened to be about that tall to the desk where she would pay for her things, and she would pick up a checkbook, and you had to pick what bank you had no account number or anything like that. It was all done with a signature. And it wasn't until we put computers into this that it really got mixed up and opened the door to fraud and theft. What I wanted to say is I'm representing South Bee County in Tynan, Texas. I'm a member of the volunteer fire department, and I've talked to a number of the firemen and the farmers. They're all farmers in that area, and they could not be here today because they're struggling to take care of the crops after the big rain we had. So they're spraying, they're doing their best. But everyone that I talked to, including Brian Mingers and Thomas Mingers and Mary Mingers, David Cave, Darby Soggy, they've all told me to use their name when I spoke this. And what I want to do is, I want y'all to know that I'm available for a counter, to be able to help, to volunteer, to be certified, and even put more people together to be certified to count this. And so we all do it right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. We have a Brett Denham.
No comment.
Tim Stowe.
Well, I say amen to everything that's been said, and I thank you for the opportunity of speaking. And I won't be able to add much, but I'll say this. My name is Tim Stowe. I've been the pastor of Beeville Baptist Church for 32 years now. Beeville is a special place for me and my wife and our ministry. And our children grew up in Beeville. We love this area, love the people, love the culture. We love Beeville, no question about it. And this is where we plan to go to heaven from, Beeville. And so, but the thing that concerns me is this. My life and ministry is based upon truth. Jesus said, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." And we've got to understand what the truth is. This is the book of truth. I'm a man of God. I stand before our people. I deliver the good things from God's word to people, to try to help people to become more Christ-like, to make Beeville a safer, better place to live as a result of what we're trying to do. If our people, and there's many times through the years, our people have come to me and they say, "Who do we vote for?" And I don't tell them who to vote for, but they'll turn around and they'll say, "Well, Pastor, who are you voting for?" And I'll tell them, and they'll mark their list down on who they're going to vote for because that's what the pastor votes. That's because they've got confidence in their pastor. If they ever thought for a moment that their pastor didn't have, it wasn't speaking the truth sincerely, speaking the truth, they would have issues with me altogether. Well, that's where we are today with these electronic machines. There's enough proof to take away all of our confidence in these machines. And if we're just honest with ourselves, we would recognize that. And it's like the fellow said before me. He said, "If it's not broke, don't fix it." And it wasn't broke. If I had a horse that was winning a race every time, I wouldn't change horses. And paper ballots win the race. And I want every legal vote to be counted. Every legal vote. I may not like the results, but I'll accept it because I believe that it was the people's vote. I just want to encourage you to go back to what works. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Stowe. Mr. Joe.
My name's Joe Carter, for the record. I want to thank the commissioners for their kind and patient attention to the citizens who came to register their concern to this court. We thank those who left their work here, and especially the mothers who had to arrange child care. Today, we recognize the citizens' right to this type of assembly hanging by a thread. We ask the commissioners to take note of the strong correlation between the voters' confidence in election integrity and the peace and harmony of a community that supports its elected officials, that respects the law and those who enforce it. Also notice the opposite, where the lack of voter confidence leads ultimately to anarchy. These concerned citizens are laying before this court the opportunity to move away from the path of unknown risk and to choose the path of known risk, which will make Beeville County exceptional among its peers as a place to live, work, locate a business, and raise a family. The current state of the art ballot and tabulating systems today intend to create the appearance of security by giving the voter an elaborate interview to impress that every effort is being made to ascertain their voting choices, and then the systems print a ballot which the voter holds in their hand while they verify that the marks printed on that ballot reflect this particular voter's intent. These steps beckon the voter's confidence and disarms them to the risk associated with the next step. The next step presumes that the voter, that he or she wants to forfeit their right to have 3 independent judges interpret, tally, and their now pristinely marked and carefully reviewed ballot. Now the process requires that the voter insert their ballot into a counting machine, and then just trust us. Just trust the logic and tally of this counting machine. It'll be just fine. The counting machine is a single fail system that can be altered by a wireless connection and has no redundancy. At least the system of hand counting by 3 judges has redundancy and requires the collusion of at least 2 judges to result in systematic error. Unlike the banks where the county deposits, where many counties deposit their operating funds, which are secured by FDIC, insurance, and other for county accounts, nothing less than bonds, the voting systems have no warranties, no money-back guarantees, no bonds guaranteeing their proper performance. You'll find that even the folks who are sure about the electronic counters are just, that the sure electronic counters are just fine, would not put their money in the bank without FDIC insurance. Amazing. In closing, I reiterate the risk of continuing to rely on unsecure, unboundable voting systems for which the only redundancy is a hand count. These risks include that Bede County elections will be disparaged by the failure of a similar vote counting machine somewhere else. Lastly, I ask you to consider the value that this simple step will bring to the future of Bede County. Consider how this relatively low-cost step will help the Bede area partnership in attracting resources and development. Getting this simple choice right is attractive to law-abiding citizens considering a move to Bede County, and to those who already own property here to move their domicile to Bede County, making their company specialties, their resources, and their skill sets a part of the inventory attractive to other new businesses considering the relocation to Bede County. Please make this choice to separate ourselves from the guilt by association of other failures. Please make this choice to communicate to everyone that Bede County is the home of low taxes, honest government, and an honest government that ensures your votes are properly counted. May God bless you and your work in Bede County.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. That's the total on the list. Is there anyone else out there that wants to speak on this or any other item? Yes, ma'am, please. If you'll come to the podium and state your name and for the record.
I'm Marlena Garcia. I live out in Papalote.
Yes, ma'am.
I met with Commissioner Haggard last week to talk about the drainage issues over on Silver Creek Road. In 1 week, we had two floods. This is when the water was at 4 foot. Later on that evening, or in the afternoon, it was at 5 foot. At night, it was about 11 o'clock, it was 6.5 foot. I have an elderly mother that lives with me. She's 87 years old, has medical conditions. There's 10 others that are elderly down that road on the other side of the creek. There's multiple children. Mrs. Allison, I know this picture has circulated on Facebook. This is her carrying her children across the suspension bridge when the water was at 5 feet. If there is a medical issue, I would not be able to get my mother across that bridge because it's a suspension bridge. So when you walk on it, it moves. We spoke about hail of flight being a possibility. If there was a hurricane or a bad storm, tropical depression, hail of flight would be unavailable. We're unable to get our mail out there. My mother also has medications mailed to her. There's also people who have, there's about 8 people on the road that have medical issues that would need immediate attention. If hail of flight is unavailable and our only means to get across is on that bridge, still haven't figured out how we would get the elderly across. This recent flood took 5 days for the water to recede. I have a high truck. few others have high trucks. We have actually trucked people across the water when it's at 3 foot, which is still dangerous because the water is flowing rapidly. Most of the time it's, mothers with their children to get across, because the bridge is not safe. There's also alligators in the water when it gets high like that. I've been down to where the windmills, where they put those culverts in, those were also underwater. And those are 72-inch culverts. There's also an issue with the trash. When the water gets high, trash can't be picked up, they don't come. It was 2 weeks before they picked up anything out there. So I believe it's the unsanitary. It smells very bad, with the heat. Maxine, please get something done. If something were to happen, think about if it was your mother or your father out there at that age and having to constantly worry about how would you get them across in the event of an emergency, what would happen to them? So please make this, an agenda to get done. Anything would work. We need the road listed as soon as possible. With hurricane season, I don't want to be worried about having to get my mom over that bridge.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am, please.
My name's Catherine Teal. I live on Silver Creek at the end of the road in Papalote. I've lived there for about 6 years. I've been to several meetings, probably one each year, talking about Silver Creek.